Okay.
Hello. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Shir Tikva. Welcome back to Shir Tikva. Welcome to our service. Welcome to those who are tuning in from afar over YouTube and Zoom. If anyone wants to turn back and give the camera a wave. Glad to be with you. Welcome to our regulars, our brand news, and our those in between. Welcome to our confirmation class, whom we are here to celebrate, and those who came to celebrate them. And welcome to you, the one listening to this wondering or doubting if this welcome is for you. It is. Welcome. My name is Forrest Yesness. I am the Director of Youth and Family Education at Shir Tikva. With me tonight are Naomi Waltower, all-around thoughtful human, passionate Jew, college student, incredible singer, and Shir Tikva alumnus, even though there's no such thing as graduating from Shir Tikva. Thank God. And of course, Julie Jacobs, our figurative and literal support beam, on whose shoulders Shir Tikva rests and on whose love Shir Tikva relies and leans on. Yasher koach to both of you for stepping in and up to lead tonight. In Hebrew, the words for welcome are bruchim habaim, literally, blessed be those who arrive. We are blessed simply by coming through those doors. And so however you are arriving tonight, celebratory, distracted, heavy, untethered, sad, you are already blessed. You are blessed. Welcome. My first welcome at Shir Tikva was when I was 15, which was a very long time ago. I had recently met a friend whose family belonged to and worked at Shir Tikva, and she had invited me to come hang out at her synagogue after school. Hang out? At your synagogue? You can do that? They let you just hang out? At your synagogue? It turns out they sure did, and we still do. One of her friends, another Shir Tikva student, soon became a mentor of mine who taught me something about Jewish community that I think about every day. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. So I stand here humbly before you, leaning on this wisdom of two former Shir Tikva teens. Join me, if you will, in embracing those two teachings. Number one, let's hang out. Let's be together. Let's look out for each other tonight. Let's make eye contact. Let's ask questions. Let's get to know each other. Let's celebrate. Let's hang out. Let's have fun. Number two, let's have fun. Let's laugh. Let's loosen up a little bit, or a lot. You know who you are. Let's cast off anything that we're carrying that, although important, likely does not need to be held for the rest of the night. If we aren't having fun, indeed, we are not doing it right. So let's have some fun. And by the way, these two rules apply to YouTube and Zoom. You're watching us, but we're watching you too. Tonight, thank God, we get to hang out and have fun with our confirmation students. as we celebrate the end of their 10th grade year, their learning, their resilience, and their care for one another and for Shir Tikva. We have a chance to pay attention to and learn some of their wisdom tonight. And to frame that, I have an invitation. Allow it to impact you, but not with a filter on it. I've heard many a Shir Tikva congregant say, wow, that was pretty good for a fourth grader. And that is the best Devar Torah I have ever heard from a Bar Mitzvah student. And that confirmation class, what an incredible next generation. Why these qualifiers? Why these filters? Why on God's earth would we talk about these people differently? That wasn't pretty good for a fourth grader, that was pretty good. That wasn't the best Devar Torah for a Bar Mitzvah student, that was the best Devar Torah. And confirmation class, this class especially, these students right here are not the next generation. They are today's leaders. Treat them that way as you listen to them tonight and as you pay attention to them from here. Bruchim habaim, welcome. You are blessed. Thank you. In that spirit, I'm going to invite up both our confirmation students and their parents and guardians to light and bless our candles. Please join us up here. Sam won the coin toss, so she gets to do the lighting. And as soon as they're lit, your parents will lead us in the blessing. Parents, go ahead. Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Amen. Thank you. Y'all can take a seat. We'll have a chance to have you back up here soon. Naomi is going to lead us in L'chu Neranana, which is on page 12 in your Sidurim.
L'chu Neranana l'Adonai Nariya l'tzur Yishenu Nekadem afanav betodah Nabiriot, Narialo, L'chu Neranena, l'Adonai, Nariya, l'tzur Yishenu. Nekadem afanav betodah bizmirot narialo ay 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 andai ay 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 do ay ay Adonai, Nadia, Litzuishenu, Nekarem afanav, Betodah, Bizmirot, Narialo, ayadayandai, ayadayaylo, ayadayayandai, yadayayayayay, yadayayayandai, yadayayaylo, yadayayayandai, yadayayayayay.
Join me in singing Ana B'Chor. It's on the purple sheet. Ana B'Chor Gedulat Yemincha Tatir Tzerura Kabel Rinat Amcha Savenu Tareinu Nora Ana B'Choach Gedulat Yemincha Tatir Tzerura Kabel Rinat Amcha Savenu Tareinu Nora. I believed in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion, in the winds of steady change, and in the ever-rolling ocean. Oh, I believed in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion, in the winds of steady change, and in the ever-rolling ocean.
Wow, can we give some love to Naomi and Julie right from the get-go? Thank you. Yasher Koach, we're just getting started. I'm going to invite up Isaac, who's going to be our first confirmation student to speak.
I'm so grateful to be gathered here with all of you tonight. I've been going to Shir Tikva on Wednesdays and Sundays since 3rd grade. While I may not have been excited to go to class on some nights throughout my Shir Tikva career, it has been a stable point in my life. After disturbing or stressful events, I've been able to talk about it with my Jewish peers and process what has happened. Shabbat is similar to this, as it is time to rest and reflect upon the week. It is a gift to the community and can help the community process their week in the same way that this class continually helps me process my week. I feel that this class has grown together in both depth of thought and tightness with one another, and I've been so grateful to be a part of it. We are here today to share our last service as a confirmation class, and I hope that we can all take a minute to feel the stability and strength of coming together in this community.
Wow, thank you, Isaac. Lecha Dodi is on page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmianu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'Shem u'tiferet v'litchila lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha ki mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshavati lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela Mikdash melech ir melucha kumitzivni tocha b'echa rav lach shevet bemet habacha vehu lachamo alayichem lalecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela hitoreri uri shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich nigla lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lo tevoishi velo tikal mimatish tochaki umatehemi bach yesusu ani beni lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela v'yahulim shisa shosai v'rachakuko mevalayich yasis alayich Elohai kisas echatan al kala lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela yaminu shmo tifrotzi ve'et Adonai taritzi al yad ishben pa'en partzi v'nismecha v'nagila lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvtsoho
segula, boikala, boikala
Ikala lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Wow, nice. The echo and the breeze, there's something inside of that for us. We've arrived at this beloved part of our service, this wonderful tradition to greet one another before Barhu. Some of us have been vibrating from the beginning to bolt across the room and say hi to someone who we haven't already greeted. Others of us might be a little more reluctant. But for either party and for those at home, if this is helpful, a prompt that can spark a little bit of conversation in this greeting. If it's useful, what's something you are committed to doing for yourself this Shabbat? Feel free to greet as usual, but if a prompt is helpful, you've got it, and we'll welcome you back in a few moments. Oh, okay. There could be nothing more painful than cutting you off from conversation. But take this as your indicator to head back to your spot. We are going to resume on page 28 with Baruch Hu. So if you are able, you can rise once more as we do Baruch Hu together. Page 28. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed Le'olam va'ed Yalla lai 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 Yalla lai 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 Yalla lai lai Yalla lai 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 Yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai. As everyone else takes their seat, I'll invite up Yossi. And Yossi, this is the designated confirmation mic, so you can take it away from there.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. I just want to say I'm so grateful for all the years I've had at Shir Tikva, and as we go into prayer, we're going to be doing the Shema, and I would like to say a few words about it. The Shema was one of the first prayers for myself to learn, and it's always probably one of my favorites. It's special because for us Jews, it says that we, basically in it we say that us Jews believe in one God, and that God is Adonai, but overall it is a very special prayer because it's one where we close our eyes as we call on God. So I invite everybody to join me in the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Yasher Koach, Yossi, thank you. Julie will take us through V'ahavta on page 36.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol lebavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh Asher Anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam v'levanecha v'dibarta b'am v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvletecha v'derech u'shochbecha v'kumecha Ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu latotafot beinenecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Sam is going to teach us a bit about Michamocha. You can turn to page 40 to get ready after she shares with us.
Shabbat Shalom. I think that the feeling of celebrating after making it through something hard is a pretty universal one. To me, Michamocha represents those feelings of joy, relief, and hope that come with accomplishing something difficult and getting through a tough situation. Our journey as a class has had its fair share of struggles, but a lot of celebrations afterwards too. The past few years have been difficult and unprecedented for everyone, and rounding out religious school and Hebrew school online has certainly been a unique experience. It's been wonderful getting to spend our last few classes just celebrating being back together in person, and I connect now more than ever to that feeling of happiness after overcoming a challenge. Celebrating achievements is part of Judaism in many ways, and from end-of-year parties in class to spending hours together at B'nai Mitzvah parties, celebrating making it through whatever we've accomplished has done so much to bring our class together. Now, tonight we are celebrating a culmination of years of coming together to learn about our culture and our traditions. It hasn't always been easy, especially the past couple of years, but I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to go through it with. That's what Michamocha means to me. Coming together in celebration of success or even just survival, of our strength, unity, and perseverance through hard times. We tend to focus so much on the future, but this is a chance to step back and celebrate getting to where we are now. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha netar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u v'necha, ukeyam livnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed.
As we turn to page 42 for Hashkivenu, I'll invite up Noam Halpern.
When I arrived at Shir Tikva 12 years ago today, it was not by my choice. After my mom took a job here, it felt like I had to start a new life. Mind you, I was only 4, which now looking back on it may have been an irrational way to react. Regardless, I'd throw a fit almost every Friday night before being forced to come to Shabbat services. After coming home those nights, my mom would sing me to sleep. A favorite song of mine was the Hashkivenu. It made me feel safe, comforted, and calm. Any feelings of anger or sadness subsided as she sang, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu shomreinu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Lie us down to peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up to life, our King, Protector, and spread over us the shelter of your peace. This prayer is to say thank you to God for making us feel comfortable in not only our physical environment, but to feel sheltered by those around us. As I've progressed over the years, since I was 4,
Since I've joined the synagogue, I've acquired a sense of pride in the place that provides physical and emotional shelter and stability, known as Shir Tikva. I can now say with great pleasure that I do not, in fact, throw a tantrum every Shabbat. It's only some of the time. Shabbat Shalom. Please join us on page 42.
Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, v'takenu be'etza tova milfanecha, v'hoshienu. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, v'taknenu be'etza tova milfanecha, v'hoshienu.
Eloise, come on up.
Shabbat Shalom. To me, confirmation means the confirming of Jewish values. When we were younger and were having our B'nai Mitzvahs, we mostly did it because our parents wanted us to, or because it was tradition. But now that we are older and getting ready to go on to the next stage of our lives, we are asked by others and by ourselves to make a choice. Will you lead and live a Jewish life? Now, this will look different for different people, but some big ones we'll be asked to think about are, will you go to services? Will you have a Shabbat dinner every Friday? Will you host a Passover Seder? Alternatively, will you put a Christmas tree in your house? Will you celebrate non-Jewish holidays with friends and family? Your answers will most likely change as you learn and grow, and living a Jewish life will look different for everyone. But one thing that will stay the same, at least for me, is living and leading with Jewish values. Values like tikkun olam and giving back to the community and showing gratitude. You see gratitude a lot in Judaism, in Torah, in Psalms, and in a ton of prayers. This will look different from different perspectives, but a big thing is knowing what I'm grateful for and not taking advantage of it. I'm grateful for a lot of things in my life right now. Amazing friends, a wonderful and supportive family, the school year being over, but I'm especially grateful for the experiences I've had and the memories I've made at Shir Tikva, the amazing friends I've made, the teachers who have taught us many important lessons and put up with our antics, and especially the rabbis and all the clergy who show up to make Hebrew school and Shir Tikva in general an amazing experience. This is also what the Amidah means to me, thanking God for everything God has done for our ancestors and everything God continues to do for us. With that, I invite you to rise, and as we recite the Amidah, I want you to think about something in your own life you're grateful for.
Yasher Koach, Eloise. We're actually going to take that invitation literally, and as we prepare for Amidah, I will invite you to shout out things for which you are grateful this week. We'll breathe those in, and on page 46, we will exhale with our first line of the Amidah. Afterwards, we'll have a few moments for silent prayer, and Julie will bring us back with Shalom Rav. Please be seated when you're ready to move on. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Please join me. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon Lechol hashalom, ki atahu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
We're at the part of our service where we pray for healing. And we think of healing in a lot of ways in our tradition: body, mind, soul, something else that doesn't fit those categories, things that go between those categories and all over the place. So whatever kind of healing you're hoping for yourself or for others, we'll sing a little Misha Berach, we'll pause for names, and we'll close with El Na. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Ve'Yakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Balea Yivarech Yirapeh Et HaCholim. We will listen to names now. El Narifanala, El Narifanala, oh, El Narifanala, El Narifanala. Thank you. And we have some names in the chat: George and Didi, Anita, Sani, Aunt Christina, Mustafa. Confirmation was actually first scheduled 2 weeks ago. And one of our confirmands, Nat Chang Deutsch, had a drash ready to teach us that night on the Torah portion. And when we rescheduled, not only did Nat give that drash as the darshan that night, but he wrote another one 2 weeks later. So Nat's going to come up here and slowly clearly and loudly. He's going to teach us for the second time in 3 weeks. Nat, without further ado.
Good Shabbos? See, I switched it up, you know. All right. So first, I just want to say, this week we read the Torah portion Shalach Lecha. It begins with the story of Moses sending out representatives from each of the 12 tribes into the land of Canaan to see if it is conquerable. 10 out of the 12 spies return, saying that it is a land that is filled with giants and is unconquerable. The Israelites say that they wish to return to Egypt, and God threatens to destroy them, although Moses talks God out of that, thankfully. However, Joshua and Caleb return, saying, "If pleased with us, Adonai will bring us into that land, a land that flows with milk and honey, and give it to us." The Torah portion then goes on to establish rules for giving offerings to God to atone for sins, and what will happen if we don't. As an example of what will happen if we don't, it gives a story of a man who was stoned for chopping wood on Shabbat. But I'm not going to focus on the 12 spies because we talk about that a lot. I figure, it's easy to talk about other things. Rather than that, I want to talk about the part on sin offerings. It says that for communal sins committed due to ignorance, such as forgetting a certain law or doing something at the wrong time, a priest shall offer a bull and a male goat from the flock of the community leader. And for individual sins, likewise caused by ignorance, the sinner shall provide a single female goat to be offered to the priest. What is consistent between these two verses are the opening words, V'kifer hakohen, the priest will atone. In other words, the priest must be the one to actually present the offering to God. You give it to the priest, but the priest is the one to present it to God. The custom of the Kohanim, being the actual performers of offerings, continued all through the way, through both the first temple, the one of Solomon, and the second temple. But, alas, the second temple was destroyed by the Romans in the year 70. So, as modern-day readers, or as any reader past the year 70, we can ask, what can we learn from these sacrificial regulations, now that there is no temple, now that we cannot perform the sacrifices that they regulate? Let's begin this study of these specific verses by stating a few of my core assumptions. Number 1, these verses are a fairly accurate recording of the will of God. Number 2, God dwells in and sees all times and spaces simultaneously. And thus these verses were told to Moses with the idea that the paper that they're on would be passed on, and we would still read them today. With that out of the way, let's start by thinking of the commonalities between the Israelites in the Sinai Desert and us, their descendants, the Jews in Minneapolis. Just the same, we live in a world where people have problems knowing how to act. Just the same, we desire to make atonement for our actions before God. Given these conditions, we can finally start to consider these verses in relation to ourselves. It seems that the Tanakh requires that although we must initiate the process of our own writing in the eyes of God, we cannot ourselves complete the process of atonement and must instead depend on others to do so. We can expand that idea to our current method of atonement, which we do through prayer and study instead of sacrifices. And although we still have people who are of priestly lineage and our Kohanim, the Kohanim are not such an important role as they were in the times of the temple. We must all, in a way, be each other's intermediaries before God. We must require of our fellow community members that by their conscious effort, expressed in prayer, they complete the process of our atonement as the priests brought, similarly to how the priests would bring the offering from your flock to God. By extension, we ourselves must not be vain and blind to the needs of our neighbors, and we must work to complete others' processes of atonement via our own prayers, as the priests would in times long ago. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nat. As usual, Nat leaves us with more questions than answers, which will make him a good continual teacher with us. This is the moment where I'm going to invite folks who are online to start generating in your various chat boxes the blessings that you have for us, and we will read them aloud. So earlier, the folks in the sanctuary got to share their gratitudes. Now we hand it over to the chat to ask for their blessings. So this is their prompt to get those flowing. And you can join me in the first part of Birkat Kehillah on your indigo papers. I will read it in Hebrew, and then we'll ask that you join me in the translation. And we're just going to do the first section first. Hamalach hagoel oti mikol ra yivarech et hanarim vayikari, bahem shemi v'shem avotai Avraham v'Yitzchak v'yidgu larov b'kerev ha'eretz. Together. The angel who has redeemed me from all harm, bless the young ones. In them may my name be recalled, and the names of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and may they be teeming multitudes upon the earth. Going to see what our friends on Zoom have to tell us. I'm going to invite us here, after I read it, to say Amen, if you can get behind that one. May these students continue to bless their families and us with their passion and wisdom. Amen. May we continue to find wisdom in the leadership of our youth. Amen. May we present our atonements to each other and others' atonements to God. Amen. May we all be grateful for the gifts that are ourselves, even if they weren't what we were wanting. Amen. Congratulations to the confirmation students, and we wish them all the best. Amen. May we be gentle with ourselves and others in these difficult times. Amen. We're going to transition into a little bit more ceremony around our confirmation students, which is going to start, we're going to sort of pass the baton to different folks to share what needs sharing. I'll start with this. It's tradition on Shabbat to bless our children, for children to be blessed. Indeed, we are here tonight especially to bless these confirmands, although there are many children and adult children in the room. In advance of reciting the blessing together, I'm going to invite their parents to call out blessings that they have for their child. Thank you. I'm going to invite our students to join me on the bima. So confirmation students can come back up as a full class. Little choreo. Because the blessing of children is not explicitly reserved for the parents on Shabbat, I want to invite members of the community now to offer 1 or 2 word blessings for these children. These students are our students and our children too. Bless you. Hey, that was easy. Good, great practice, great timing. May it always be that easy. When we bless our students, we tell their parents, you are not alone. We too take responsibility for loving them. We take seriously the trust that you extend to this community to do just that. We join you in loving them, teaching them, and learning from them. So if you're a member of the community who wants to throw your blessing amid the blessings of the parents, now would be your chance. we're taught that the priests put their hands out and onto the children. Yes, the Vulcan is inspired by this. It really is. It's in Torah. I don't know which came first. You'll have to figure that out. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I envy you. So if you are so moved to even just put a little finger or a little something out to these 7 students, we will bless them with the rest of Birkat Kehillah. Yishimchem Elohim Kisara, Kerivka, Kerachel, Uchleah, Pe'Ephraim u'Menashe. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Dave Snyder, confirmation teacher extraordinary, former confirmation student at Shir Tikva. How's that for a success story? Is going to come up here and add his blessing to the mix.
Shabbat shalom. So yeah, I was asked to give a little kavanah. So I asked, with what kavanah, with what intention do I approach the opportunity to bless these students of ours? With awe and gratitude at the many ways that you have blessed us by showing up this year of all years, for the curiosity and questions you asked, those that could be answered and those that we must live for another 20 years, for the care you showed each other, the way that you held on to community even when we were isolated from each other, and the way you reached out and brought each other back in when we returned to physical space together, for your passion and commitment to justice, to tikkun olam, near and far, for the light you kept kindled despite all the headwinds as we learned and grew together.
Amen.
Thank you, Dave. We have a little bit more to go, and then we're going to do some presentation of gifts. So you're doing a great job. You're exactly where you need to be. I'm going to back up even further. They're the stars. I'm just narrating. When I was in my grad program, I studied the relationship between foundation and disruption in Jewish communal life. And when I continue to consider examples of foundation and disruption at Shir Tikva, right or wrong, this class comes to mind. Foundation. For years, this class has been unabashedly themselves. And that continued through every syllable that they spoke tonight. Thank God. They are unafraid. They became fiercely close with one another. Through the Bar Mitzvah years, they became wildly passionate about action and study, in large part due to Barry, who is here to celebrate with you tonight. They are oh so different from one another, and yet remarkably protective. They push boundaries, they tease, they ask questions, they do make demands, they eat a lot of snacks. Y'all keep the Shir Tikva vacuum in business. They come from exceptional families. Their parents are gentle and strong, wise educators and leaders and human beings who have trusted Shir Tikva to join them in this child rearing, and we thank them for that. They're goofy. They'll tell you stories about their shenanigans at Shir Tikva, which they think I don't know about. Because one of the things this class has yet to learn is that I was not born yesterday. They appreciate Shir Tikva. They love who they are. They care for each other. This is their foundation. And wow, does this class know of disruption. In the spring of their 8th grade year, on the cusp of high school, they met the pandemic. High school is difficult enough. They attended their first year of high school from afar. They leaned in anyway, suffering and enduring. Life at Shir Tikva, too, was disruptive. They did not get precious post-Bar Mitzvah time together. They did not get welcomed into Stifty as originally planned. And their time, even this year, was disrupted with disappointment as their beloved trip to Washington, D.C. was postponed, not canceled, postponed. And as transition and all of the complications that came with it wreaked havoc. And still, they stand here tonight. Their resilience is unmatched. When Shir Tikva wasn't moving forward with a return to the building at the pace they wanted, several of these students went to each other's houses for class and sat together in the same Zoom box, which I think they mostly wanted to do because they loved each other, but also they kind of wanted to make a point to Dave, as if Dave was the one keeping us at home. But really, they missed a lot, and we missed them. Thankfully, tonight is not the end, but a mere check-in to hear how they are and to invite them to consider what is next for them here at Shir Tikva and beyond. More time together, more learning, more action, more food, more youth group, and yes, DC will be here soon. Each of you and you as a collective are caring and insightful. You see things the way they should be seen. You're fun, you're smart, you're kind, and you're just getting started. Yasher koach to Dave on his remarkable steadiness and fortitude this year. Dave, once a Shir Tikva confirmation student, is tonight this class's sole confirmation teacher. That is a noteworthy thing to celebrate, and you do it in humble, righteous, vulnerable Dave style. Thank you. And Yasher koach and Mazal Tov to each of our students and their families. Okay, Dave is going to come back up. I'm going to put Madam President Amy Funk on the spot. You got to have the president give some confirmation gifts. Come on up, Amy. Thank you. We have very formal certificates in appreciation of all of their work, and we also have a Tanakh pocket edition that can be brought. I know it's going to be in every one of their backpacks and tote bags starting tonight at all times. So I can just call names, and as you grab your gifts from Dave and Amy, y'all can go take a seat with your parents. Isaac. Nat. Eva. Eloise. Sam. Noam. Last and absolutely never least, Yossi. Yasher koach to our class. Mazal Tov. Siman Tovo, Mazel Tovo, Mazel Tov, and Siman Tov, Siman Tovo, Mazel Tovo, Mazel Tov, and Siman Tov, Siman Tovo, Mazel Tovo, Mazel Tov, and Siman Tov, Yeilanu, 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 Ulecho Yisrael, Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulecho Yisrael. We're going to transition back into our service and begin our conclusion with Aleinu on page 284 with Vahashe Vota. And if you are able and it's part of your practice, please rise.
Vahashe Vota. Ki Adonai hu Elohim v'nemar v'haya Adonai v'melech ha'kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu
You likely know by now that one of our customs at Shir Tikva is to not only remember names of people who have died, but to share a short memory that you'd like to bring to the congregation. Julie is going to walk around and we'll start with the list. So I will read someone's name, wait for a pause, see if that person is here ready to share a memory. Please make no assumption about Julie and I seeing you, so don't be afraid to flag us down. We want to hear your brief memory, and if at the end there are other names and other memories, we'll do that once the list is finished. We're in Shloshim, which means we're in the first 30 days of the first month since the death of Arlene Rita Spiegel, Kate's mom. Robert Earl Hensley, Fiona's dad. Tyler Bailey, David and Deb Hork Bailey's grandson. And Jack Ziegler, beloved member of Shir Tikva.
I was lucky enough to be at Jack's conversion, and Jack was an incredible man. I mean, he was suffering from cancer, and yet I have never seen anybody so joyful. And just how he lived. He was just in the present, and he had such a loving community in St. Cloud.
Thanks, Barry. George Brand. Oh, this is Yahrzeit now. People who. Oh, excuse me, Serene. Thank you.
One of the other things I was also friends with Jack, and one of the things that really struck me was he was very adamant that his books be passed along to people that need them, and he had a lot. So it's pretty awesome. So
Thanks, Serene. May we all live a life where people want to keep adding one more memory. We'll now read the Yahrzeit list, which are the names of folks who have died at this time in years past. George Brand, Martha Brand's father. Jean-Paul Cousineau, Sego's grandfather. Mary Desnick, Leslie Desnick's mother. Libby Epstein Siegel, Margie Siegel's mother. Bill Grossman, Barbara Grossman's father. Melvin Honigs, Daniel Honigs' grandfather. Amy Kritzer, Bert's wife.
Amy's avocation was gardening, and this time of the year, a night like this, she would still be in the garden now, and maybe for another hour or more. Finally, at some point, I could drag her out of the garden for supper, and we'd sit on our front porch, open a bottle of wine, and chat for another hour or two.
Wow. Thank you, Bert. Great picture illustrated there. Jacob Peter Misik, Dan Friedman Shedlov's nephew. Joy Nemiroff, Rabbi Kathy Nemiroff's mom. Max Polotnik, Harvey Pearl's father. Ronald Rolson, who's my mom's dad and my grandfather. I've been thinking about what memory to share, and I just remember every time we would leave, it wouldn't be good enough to say goodbye at the door, so he would go wait out back and we would wave as we got on the highway, seeing tiny figures in the cornfield. Sandy Rubenstein, Rana Rochelle's aunt. Estelle Shankman, Tema's mom. Leighton Siegel, Jeff's dad. Maxwell Spunt, Michelle's father. Lloyd White, Erica Sachs White's father. Norman Weiner, Barbara S. Weiner's dad.
My dad was mean He was not a loving dad. He reminded us, my sister and I, a lot of that he didn't want children. And I spent a lot of time and a lot of money unlearning things that I was taught that were not true. But still, he was my dad. And I still miss him 17 years later. And on his deathbed, he said to me, I want to go somewhere, but I don't have transportation. And I said, okay, Dad, where do you want to go? And we were close to the ocean. I said, I can take you to the ocean. And he said, for the first time ever in his life, wherever you want to go. And I said, let's go to the ocean. And he died. And my mother and he had a cemetery plot in Florida. And so I took him to the ocean.
Thanks, Barbara. Matthew Wise, Shelley Minor's dad.
The first thing I just thought of was my dad was tone deaf, but he sang loud and proud, even though my Aunt Clarine, who was the choir director, would like glare at him from the choir loft. And he just loved music, but he didn't know what to do with it. So I remember asking for a flute, and he gave me a violin. And my brother asked for a trumpet, and he got a clarinet. And we, on his deathbed, we're like, Dad, didn't you know that this, these instruments? And he said, these are Jewish instruments. So.
I had no idea. Thanks, Shelley. Fred Yesness, who is my dad's dad, both of my grandfathers this weekend, who I did not know, who I'm named after. And I'm just thinking my dad a lot this weekend because it's been 50 years. My dad was 16. So I'm thinking a lot of my father. Are there other names that we can add to the list? Thank you. Good call. Sarah said, my grandfather, David Kerman, died 9 years ago. He was always more interested in humans and their stories than in sticking to schedules. I think he had the right priority, though I struggle to emulate it sometimes. Thanks, Sarah. In addition to all of those names, we recite Kaddish for people who do not have anyone to say their names anymore. And with that, I'll invite you to turn to page 294 and rise. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'alma Divrach Hirtei, V'amlich Malchutei, B'chayichon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach leolam olmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudasha brechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. Please be seated. And it's an absolute pleasure to invite up Amy Funk to tell us what's going on at Shir Tikva.
Shabbat Shalom. Mazol Tov to the confirmation class, and Yashar Koach to Dave. I remember my sons. Naomi was in my son's confirmation class and bar mitzvah class, so I remember them fondly. After Shabbat, please help us end the financial year in a healthy place by paying your pledge and wrapping up costs from youth or adult education. Extra donations are appreciated at this time of year as well, and every other time of year. Eating is back at Shir Tikva at the Shir Tikva building. Monthly Oneg relies on congregants to sponsor, set up, and clean up. Want to sponsor? Talk to Forrest or Raina. Song Circle twice each month. Did anyone who went to the first one want to say anything about it? Shelley? Yeah, it was joyful. It was great. Lovely. Tat Shabbat on Saturday, July 2nd. Thank you to tonight's service leaders. Naomi, it was just a joy to hear your voice again. Thank you. And Forrest and Julie, wonderful job. I know I keep talking away from the mic. I'm not that good at this. So anyway, and thank you to our Shomrim, Serene, Jacob, and Jeremy. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Just a few more things, and to wrap up our speaker series tonight, the irreplaceable Eva Crowley.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eva, as you all heard, and I'm here to talk about how this, for me, doesn't feel like a beginning or an ending, and how this class has been crazy, and I have been in and out of the craziness, mostly in, but on the side at the same time. So, these last few years have been a new experience. The world and everything in it has been super tiring. Everything's changed while we all stood still. That made it difficult to feel the changes that occurred around us. My point of view on the world has changed because we have grown up and everything, including us, has changed. This change is good, even if it is scary. We have lost track of time passing these last 2 years and didn't notice that we were growing up. We are all obviously Jewish adults, but that doesn't actually mean much. We are facing and tackling bigger and heavier challenges as we move towards real life adult stuff. As we end the service and this chapter of our religious educational journey, I wonder if this is goodbye or not. I wonder what challenges the future holds. I hope my fellow classmates and I are able to take everything that we learned about ourselves within these walls and the park building across the street and on Zoom. We didn't really learn anything on Zoom, though. And make great success out there in the real world. But is this the end? Or like this very service that marks the beginning of Shabbat, is this our beginning? Life has been tricky, but we have pushed through and have made so much progress. From being crazy kids that drove most of our teachers to madness, to crazy teens who drive each other to madness. We all have aged and watched each other grow. Together we learned about the hard, ugly things in this world, and we learned about the beautiful, wonderful things that this world has to offer us. So this is not the end, nor is it the beginning. Jazz hands!
Remember that thing I said earlier about being themselves? Thank you, Eva. I'm going to invite up the confirmation class and their loved ones one last time to lead Kiddush and Motzi. Yes, David and Deb for the challah tonight. And Gordon, of course, for the behind the curtain. He is the man behind the curtain. Eloise, Kiddush. Kiddush is all the way back on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho B'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki vanu bacharta Ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim ve'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Noam, will you come see what's under this challah cover? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon. If you'll join me in one last song tonight, not only did Naomi Waltower grace us with her singing, but it's her 20th birthday today. So our closing song as we head out, of course, is Happy Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Naomi. Happy birthday to you. Many more. Mazal Tov, Yasher Koach, happy birthday, Shabbat Shalom. Yes. Confirmation students and their loved ones are invited to, immediately following this moment, head to the former site of the playground. Please head to the former playground if you are in the confirmation class. Do not pass go.